Hey y'all, this is Marley K. Hope y'all are well. I had to redo this video because it did not have any sound. I don't know what happened, but I'm redoing it. Anyhow, this is a update about the digital IDs and the digital wallets that are being rolled out all over the globe. As we have been talking about all last year about what's coming with this beast infrastructure, I just want y'all to know that it is laid, it is out, it is ready. They're rolling it out. There's no turning back. It's not as successful in all places as they had hoped, but nevertheless, they are still rolling it out. They're tying it to resources and things that we have become accustomed to, or things that they forced us to need, i.e., the internet, in order to do business, becoming paperless, so on and so forth, the digitalization of everything, even, creature comforts like the internet, just, children being able to use the internet. Even children are going to have digital IDs, just like they have to have social security numbers and passports, so on and so forth. So, this video is going to be covering just about, what's going on all over the globe. It is from Coin Bureau. I've brought you videos from Coin Bureau before, and I like their content. Every now and then I come across stuff that I feel like is really important for my audience. So instead of just regurgitating what somebody else says, I just let you listen to what they say, and I'll just restream it on my channel. This is for educational purposes, so I don't want to get in trouble with any copyright infringement, but I'm using this content to teach my audience about how these things will impact us, especially here in America, since we are getting so little information here in the States about this transitioning into these digital products that we're going to be forced to have for this one world government. So let us get into it, and I will interject every now and then if I have something to add to the conversation. So I'm going to make this bigger so that you can see it and hear it. And here we go.
The mark of the beast is coming. Depending on where you are, it's...
Okay, so before we even get started, I realized she said the mark of the beast. So this is going to be a number, but it will be associated with the mark. So when she says the mark of the beast, she's kind of not necessarily um, going into as much detail as we have over the last year or two about the mark and being sealed and so on and so forth. So this is the number of the beast that we are being assigned. These are numbers, whether it's facial recognition, photos that are on a server with a number, or some type of identification associated with it, or a digital wallet, or whatever you want to call uh, digital currency. These are numbers that are going to be assigned to us in order for us to participate in society. We won't be able to buy or sell without it. And so when she talks about the mark of the beast, she's just being general. But I want to just clarify that the mark and being sealed are associated with worship. And what these after these numbers are assigned to all of us, then we will be forced or given um, uh, orders on what we must worship. And so either we will have to worship this beast in this system, um, do what they say do in order to have access to our digital things that they're giving us, which will be tied to resources that we need for survival, or we'll be sealed and covered by the creator, and doesn't necessarily mean we will escape persecution or even death, but the sealing means that we did not take the orders to worship whatever the beast infrastructure, the beast system is telling us we need to do in order to buy or sell. So I do have videos on that that I did last year, And a lot of other people, now I won't say a lot of other people, a lot of people are not really talking about the mark of the beast and making sure that they clarify that it's not this number, that it is about worship. It's about being marked and sealed, marked with this number. And that means that you'll bow down and do whatever they tell you to do, which I think it's going to be, we're going to be bowing down to AI if you take this mark, or if you're sealed. And it's not the number. Let me just clarify. The number is not a mark. It's just the number is associated with the beast, which is the government, the system. Um, so again, I don't want to get into that. I just want to clarify before she got into this video that I understand that this number is not necessarily mark of the beast, but it is associated with the markings or the worship of the beast system. And we don't know what they're going to require these folks who are required to worship. We don't know what that is going to be, if it's going to be artificial general intelligence, if it's going to be some person. We don't know yet, but we do know that these numbers and this digitalization process that's happening is going to be a part of that system. So that's, I just want to clarify that. So I'm gonna shut up and get back into the video.
Already here. Of course, I'm referring to digital IDs, the dystopian technology that's being rolled out around the world. Over the last few months, there have been digital ID developments in almost every country, but you'd be hard pressed to name any. It seems the media doesn't want the people to know what's happening. My name is Jessica, and today I'm going to explain what digital IDs are, bring you up to speed on their recent developments around the world, and tell you how you can protect yourself from this terrifying tech. As with a physical ID, a digital ID allows you to prove that you are who you claim to be. And as with a physical ID, a digital ID is created by providing biometric information of some kind. It can be your fingerprints or a photo of your face. And of course, physical and digital IDs are issued and managed by governments. But the devil is truly in the details.
So you also need to know, I know I haven't really talked a whole lot about this because this is just kind of being revealed about the facial recognition stuff that is also going to be a part of the beast system and a part of the digital identification system. So I did touch on it a little bit, but because like this article came out maybe a week or so ago about the Rite Aid case, where Rite Aid is forbidden for 5 years from using the facial recognition because they misused it and targeted, of course, African American, Black, and Hispanic people. This is going to be very problematic for us. So this is why also I'm talking about it, and I'm very concerned because if they misidentify us now and we don't do nothing, just imagine what's going to happen when this stuff is rolled out all over the world and they say we all look alike. So, you could be locked out of services, or they could program tokens and your digital currency to not work because you've been falsely linked to something that you hadn't done, or somebody said something on social media that looks like you, and so they program your stuff based on some picture that's stored and you have similar features to somebody else. So this whole new system is going to be so problematic for Black people. We don't even understand how problematic it is going to be for us. So this is, again, another reason why we should be prepping and storing stuff and putting back stuff, because if your digital ID doesn't match your digital wallet or your digital debit card or your banking info, you could not use you could get to the grocery store and can't buy groceries. You could get to the gas station and can't buy gas. So you really gonna have to be forward thinking. And again, I don't know when the Exodus is coming. I'm praying it is soon because I'm tired of living in this doggone crazy world. But in the event that is not, we have to know how to navigate all this stuff. And this is why I'm bringing this to you. This is why I'm talking to you. I'm going to be talking about this a lot this year because there are a lot of things coming down the pipe. It's coming fast and it's coming furiously. And there are a lot of distractions that are taking our um, eyes off of what the true agendas are. And I want to try to make sure that I stay focused on that. Although all these things are tied together, there are some things that are distractions that are just showing up in our news feeds and in our, even on YouTube, because I don't watch the news anymore. But even on YouTube, I'm just being bombarded with stuff that don't make no sense. And all kind of new people I ain't never seen before just because people are black. It's just showing up in my news feed. And so it's kind of taking me a while to get to the things that I usually I'm able to navigate and get in the stories that I'm trying to find so that I can share with you. So it's really becoming a challenge trying to get this information out to you. And I don't really have that many followers and I don't have that many people that watch my content because I am suppressed. But I'm nevertheless not going to be dissuaded from doing otherwise because this is what we are called to do in these final hours. And who knows when the internet might break and all, our stuff might just the algorithms may fail that are shadow banning us and allow our stuff to get out. So with that said, I want y'all to pay attention to this digital ID stuff because it's really going to be devastating for us, especially in the era of this predictive policing. And they've experimented on that for like 20 years or so. And it's not been good for Black people. It's still not good. Every year you hear stories about people being picked up and charged and held in jail for a long time without bail because they were accused of doing something and come to find out it wasn't them. But all these stores are collecting our pictures when we go in there and um, storing it. So when something happens, they're like, "Hey, this person." But everybody got like 4 or 5 people on Earth they look like. So, and the people who design this stuff don't look like us, and they think all of us look alike. So it's not designed with us in mind. So it's not going to be kind to us. We need to understand this, and we need to really be concerned and be preparing for what's to come.
The biggest difference between physical and digital IDs is that physical IDs are difficult to confiscate or change. The government would literally have to take it from you. With a digital ID, however, the government could just change your details on the system without your consent. Another difference between physical and digital IDs is that you have different types of physical IDs: passports, driver licenses, health cards, etc. This segregation of information protects your privacy and gives you more control over your identity. With a digital ID, however, all these IDs are rolled into one. In other words, you could say that physical IDs are decentralized, where digital IDs are centralized.
Okay, so you see that this is another perfect example of how the devil turns and switches everything around, makes everything backwards. That is something that the children of the corn are excellent at doing, and for some reason we cannot understand that. Like we should never trust anything that comes out of their mouths, and I mean I'm on yeah, I mean that. Like you just can't trust nothing that they say. Um, because they are masters of deception. And so here they have told us that this blockchain is going to be decentralized when in fact it is the complete opposite. What you have now, if you have a passport, you can have your driver's license in your purse, you can have your passport in a safe or in a drawer at home, you could have a military ID someplace else, you could have your health insurance card in your wallet, you could have birth certificate here, so you could have all these things in different places and not have to worry about all those things being hacked at once. And you can also have control over what you want people to have access to. So they're telling you, oh well, people will only be able to access this information on a need to know basis. That's not true. It's going to be centralized. All this stuff is going to be stored in one place. Once you create a digital wallet, or once they put it together, or once you opt in to have these entities connect your identifications, you are going to be stuck like Chuck. You will be in a centralized database, and everybody will know everything about you all over the globe, because that's the goal. All your stuff is going to be in one place. So it's not decentralized like they said it would be. It is going to be centralized, and the one world government is going to control it. They've already got everything set up, as she's going to tell you in this video. So everything that we have been told is a lie, is all deceptions. And so if you think you're going to be able to have your own identification, no, you're not. They're going to force you into having this. If you think you're going to have your own currencies on your person, you're not. They're going to force you to use the currencies that they say, and they're going to make void all the other currencies they don't want you to use, because that is what the devil does. So we need to understand the adversary is controlling this stuff, and we need to understand the games that they play. Ain't nothing new under the sun. They do the same old thing all the time. And so, just get that in your spirit. This is a season of deception. And this is why we must learn about these devices. These are devices of the adversary.
This is terrifying when you consider the fact that many governments have been actively working to connect digital IDs to all sorts of public and private services, including your ability to access social media. This begs the question of where this digital ID push is coming from. If you watched our viral video about digital IDs, you'll know that it's ultimately coming from the United Nations, specifically its Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. The SDGs mandate in digital IDs in every country by 2030, among other things. If you watched our video about how the UN works, you'll know that it's been using a network of public and private institutions to ensure that SDGs are met in every country. These include the likes of the World Economic Forum, or WEF, whose most controversial ideas fundamentally have their roots in SDGs. When it comes to digital IDs, however, the three entities that have been the most involved are the United Nations Development Programme, or UNDP, the World Bank, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. These three entities have been working to roll out digital IDs in every country around the world. That's not a conspiracy theory, by the way. The president of the World Bank has explicitly mentioned the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation as being one of the key players in digital ID development.
The computer guy who knows all things is in everything. That's why I don't understand why people not just like, hey, wait a minute, he ain't no doctor. Wait a minute, why is he involved in the digital identification? Um, I'm just put it out there. This ain't nothing but a big old eugenics project. Like, they're gonna eliminate so many of us because they're gonna know so much information about us. They're gonna know who goes to Piggly Wiggly and gets oxtails, and so we need to go over there and we need to make sure they don't get that. We're gonna make sure they get Soylent Green. Or this particular community needs to be without this grocer because it produces stuff for this segment of the population that we consider useless eaters. Let me tell you, y'all, this is not finna be good. This guy, um, you you have to understand the history of his father. It's not gonna be good for us. I'm just telling you. Black people are in danger. African American black people, African people. Hey, well, babe, you ain't white, you're in danger. If you're not rich and white, you're in danger. But I'm not concerned about the children of the corn, because the children of the corn right now got us in this predicament. African American black people and Gentiles and Africans, we're in danger. We're in danger. So we really need to understand the ramifications of this tool that's going to be used to enslave us all. And so that's, again, another reason why you really need to study this.
Their initiatives appear to be guided by the UNDP Digital Strategy, which was first revealed back in 2019, the same year that the WEF partnered with the UN to push its SDGs. In 2022, the UNDP released a report titled Digital Strategy 2022 to 2025, which contained a roadmap for the digital ID rollout. As the title suggests, the digital strategy seeks to have digital IDs in every country by 2025. Believe it or not, it looks like most countries are on track to roll out their digital IDs by this deadline. The result could be a digital dystopia from which there is no escape, where pandemic type restrictions are the norm. Let's see how much progress has been made, shall we? And by the way, if you're enjoying the video so far, be sure to smash that like button to give it a boost. Now, I'll start by saying that almost all the digital ID development updates I'm about to review come from a single website titled Biometric Update. It's a surprisingly objective resource for digital ID related development.
And I have brought you many stories from biometricupdate.com. So I will also put a link to that in the description at the end of this video so that you can go there and sign up for notifications to be notified when updates come out. I haven't been looking here lately because the biometric updates have not been in my news feed, unfortunately. But I have missed quite a few things, it seems. And although we've talked about these digital ID rollouts with SIM cards on the continent of Africa, in India, and other places, I, kind of stopped talking about it because other things had come up. But now we have to pay attention to it again because we're getting close to 2025. You see all the destabilization all over the globe. And so, this thing is coming. So we need to talk about it so we'll be prepared and aware and not caught off guard.
And we suggest you check it regularly to stay up to date. The link is in the description.
We interrupt this programme for an emergency crypto weather forecast. Get ready for a whirlwind of savings. We're seeing some high pressure sign up bonus programme.
That being said, I want to start with my home country of the UK. In June 2023, Scottish authorities announced that they would make improvements to their digital ID, which began its pilot phase in February 2023. Now, it's not entirely clear when this will be officially rolled out, but likely sometime in 2024. The UK government also passed the Online Safety Bill. If you watched our video about the online censorship laws being introduced around the world, you'll know this deceptively titled bill was one of them. This relates to digital ID because the bill mandates protecting children from illicit content online. The practical effect of this is that social media platforms could soon begin enforcing KYC for users based in the UK to verify the fact that they're not children. That's because the fines for exposing children to illicit content online are massive, and there's no other.
Okay, so think about this. This would mean either if your children use any of your devices, they would have to have on biometric um, information in your phone or your tablet or whatever they use, or they would have to have a digital ID. So that's interesting. Or they would have to have their own device that's set up specifically for them to use, and they still are going to have some type of digital ID to log in to use the internet. So to make sure that the child is only using or accessing areas of the internet that the government deems okay for the child to use. So your children are even going to have digital IDs. This is the ramification. You think just the parents are going to have to bear the brunt or the liability. They want to know about everybody. They want to know what everybody is doing, everybody's thinking, everybody's looking at, everybody's talking about. So nobody's going to be able to escape. When the word says everybody, big or small or great, d- everybody going to have to get a digital ID. Except for those who are richy rich and can be self-sufficient. But I don't even know how you're going to do that because you got to pay taxes. You pay taxes, they're going to force you to either use tokens or digital currency. So nobody's going to be able to escape this. And that's the goal. But I wanted to point out how they set this framework up to pretend like they are going to protect the safety of children, but the framework really is to set it up so that everybody eventually is going to have to have digital identification in order to use the internet. And so you won't be able to use the internet under pseudonyms and pen names anymore and fake pictures. Your real face will be shown, your real name going to be shown, and even if your real name isn't shown, you will have to use that digital ID to set up whatever type of identity you use. And so they can monitor what you say and do and where you go on the internet. And so that they can um, hound you about things to buy. Because at the end of the day, all this data collection is to also coax you to consume things that they make and influence how you think.
Another way of ensuring content isn't exposed to kids. Speaking of online censorship, the EU's equally deceptively titled Digital Service Act came into effect last summer. Naturally, the Act includes provisions which could require KYC on social media for users based in the EU, in the name of protecting children. It also creates ministries of truth in each country. Also, not a conspiracy theory, every country will have a digital service coordinator, an entity which will effectively curate content online, including manipulating algorithms during times of crisis. The fact that Twitter, aka X, has been resistant to this intervention is probably why it's being pursued under the DSA. Thank God for decentralized social media. More about that in the description. Anyways, when it comes to actual digital ID developments in Europe, there have been no shortage of them. Unsurprisingly, the most terrifying of these updates have come from Russia. Most of these have been related to facial, we can think of as being involuntary forms of digital ID. In June of 2023, Cyberbank,
And this is what I was talking about. The facial recognition situations are involuntary forms of digital identification because you can walk into a store, the store collects your picture when you standing in front of self checkout. They're always taking your picture, and you can see just by the type of imaging, like they're collecting certain frames. And so this stuff goes into their servers. They sell this information. When you walk into the store, you basically agree to let them sell your shit. Excuse my French. And you have to go online to opt out of having your information sold. And it's a very tedious, difficult process. But I have gone online and I've seen where you can go to Walmart and opt out and Home Depot and opt out, but you got to go to these stores. So you have to remember when you go to the store, you need to go to the website when you get home and make sure that you're opting out of having your information um, stored on their servers because they're connecting your face with your um, digital not yeah, with your digital payment, with your debit card or credit card. Now if you use cash, it's a it's a little different, but still sometimes they ask you for your email address so they can email you a receipt, or they'll ask you for, like, if you got a military ID, they ask you for your phone number. So they have ways to connect your face with your identity and your presence in the store at any particular time, and then they store that information and they sell it to each other so they can use that information for whatever. So we're all already in some type of biometric database or some in some facial recognition technology uh, storage thing. Um, I don't know what you want to call it, but we're all there. If you go through the airport, you in there. If you go in a store, you're in there. If you've been to the DMV, you in there. You know, if you got a driver's license, if you got a passport, you in there. Uh, ain't hardly no place or school uh, um, identifications. The companies that take the pictures and store them, school database, that stuff belongs to the government. Most times, it's sold to other companies who use that information to sell to policing companies and stores and whatever. So it's crazy, but we don't have any recourse over that. The only thing you can do is opt out and hope it works.
Russia's largest bank, was reportedly in the process of securing a de facto monopoly over facial biometrics in the country. In August 2023, the Russian government banned all foreign forms of online ID verifications. In November 2023, it expanded its facial recognition capacity. It's not just Russia either. In November 2023, Irish police announced they would begin using facial recognition following mass riots across the country. Just 1 month later, the Irish government tabled a draft bill that would allow them to do this. Now, it's possible this bill has already come into effect by the time that you see this.
Okay, that's something else that I wanted to add my 2 cents to. This is why we need to stay out of the streets. You need to get you some masks. At one point in time, there was this thing circulating during the I don't know if it was in China. It could have been in China. It might have been Taiwan, where they were doing these protests, and they had this whole little system because they've had facial recognition over there for a long time. And so the people had masks and hats, and they were covered, and they had the whole thing set up like what you need to do if you're going to go out in the street and protest. I recommend Negroes not protest because they love to kill us. Ain't nothing for them to kill us. Our lives do not matter. So ain't nothing on this earth in this country worth protesting no more. I'm just telling you straight up, we in survival mode. We need to be collectively on the same page, on code, looking out for each other and staying out of this business, because nothing that we do is going to work for us. Nobody's going to protect us. Nobody gonna do nothing for us. They're looking for us to be workhorses so that we can push other agendas, and then we left out. So my concern is protecting African American Black people. We not getting in the streets. But now, as far as protecting yourself from facial recognition and being falsely accused of stuff, I recommend you get you some of them masks that you put on your face, and learn how to cover up when you're walking around in the streets. If you don't have to uh um remove your stuff, then don't. But we should all be considering that these days. If you have the luxury of being able to wear a mask, I will wear one, and not just to keep from getting cooties. I'm just saying, hats, whatever you can use to get away with not being so identifiable. You probably would should consider that. Just something to think about.
This video. It goes without saying that using facial recognition to suppress protests and social unrest is not how you address its root cause. Even the UN's human rights chief said that this would bring, and I quote, unacceptable risk. When even the UN is sounding the alarm about this digital ID dystopia, you know it's bad. And it really just scratches the surface of what's been going on in Europe. Seeing as I've brought up the UN, you should know that it was given the ownership of the EU's pandemic passports in July, presumably to be used as a template for digital IDs around the world. As the saying goes, never let a good crisis go to waste. Around that time, Dutch politicians spoke out in support, yes, in support, of facial recognition at football games. A couple of weeks later, they started working on a digital ID law. The Czech Republic also announced that it would launch its national digital ID in January 2024. On that note, one of the team members at Coin Bureau is based in the Czech Republic, and he told us about just how rapidly the country is rushing towards technocracy. For example, all freelancers and businesses must now use a digital portal to communicate with the government. No more physical letters. It would be crazy if the government sent you a message, deleted it, and then fined you for not responding, wouldn't it? Funnily enough, the digital portal automatically deletes messages after 90 days.
Now this is really important, and I want to highlight this because when I used to write grants for law enforcement agencies all across the country, some of them were like some of the biggest law enforcement agencies in the nation. They were doing these grants for body cameras, and it was during the Obama administration when they had all this money so that they could get these body cameras, and it was after oh, I can't think of some police killings. It was a lot of police killings of black people, and so they came up with these policies, unfortunately, to fund police departments so that they could get digital cameras, body cameras for police. Well, the issue was one of the biggest issues was storage of data. And I remember asking this question, and folks were looking at me like I was crazy, which is why I have a problem now working in certain areas because I always question certain things that don't make sense to me, and folks seem to not care. But one of the issues is storage of data because you may have a police force of a couple thousand officers, and you may have a couple hundred wearing body cameras around the clock. And so they have data. They can, turn the cameras on and off whenever they get ready. But at the end of the shifts, this data is uploaded into servers, and these servers have to be cared for. So you have to have a place where this data is stored. Somebody has to monitor or watch this data, look at it, review it. Then you have to maintain it. So it not only has to be on servers, it needs to be on the internet. The servers need to be cared for. You got to power them. They use a lot of electricity. It's really not good for the environment. It's not good for people to be in a place where they have all these servers because of the radiation the servers emits. So it's a whole thing. And then the legal piece of what if somebody wants this information, say there was a bad stop or something, and they needed it for proof. Well, a lot of the police departments decided early that they weren't going to keep data indefinitely. They weren't going to keep the video footage indefinitely. Some departments had 15-day limits, some had 90 days, some had 6 months, some had a year. But the issue is you can't continue to store all that stuff. You got to put it someplace. It's got to be on computers or servers or a storage drive, something. And that costs money. And these governments did not have the money to maintain those systems. They're going to run into the same problem trying to do this for the whole world. Now, if you can't maintain data for a city and we're losing jobs, we're not paying taxes, where the money coming from? So the math ain't math in here. And not only that, how you going to store everybody on Earth's data in one place? How? Where? Y'all done built this thing already, and we don't know nothing about it. Like, tell me. I know in America they already done built some stuff and got it out in the Midwest, somewhere in Utah, some place, a couple of different places. But like, these are things they don't tell us about. So this stuff has to be stored, and that's why the lady is talking about in this video. This data is going to be only available for a certain number of days, then it could disappear. That means you're going to be responsible for your own receipts, your digital receipts. It's not like you're going to go to the store, get a printed paper receipt. You can stick it in a box, you can stick it in your purse, you can put it someplace and come back to it if you need it. You're going to be responsible for getting your own digital receipts. And if you don't, then it's going to be on you. You're not going to be able to retrieve this stuff. And that's going to be intentional. So again, we are going to be the collateral damage. We're going to be exposed. You're always going to have to be able to prove something in this digital age, and it's not always going to be black and white. It's not always going to be easy. Just think about bank statements. In the beginning, you could go back years and get bank statements, and then they start saying, oh, well, you can only go back a certain period, and if you want to go back further than that, then we'll have to print it and you'll have to come in and pay for it. So it's always going to be some BS when it comes to this stuff. You might as well get ready.
The only thing that's scarier than this is the EU's digital ID wallet, which was officially approved in November 2023. In case you haven't noticed, the EU's digital ID includes a built in wallet, which will presumably be used for the upcoming digital euro, which is set to launch sometime in 2025 or 2026. Not only that, but the EU is now in the process of putting together the legal framework required to issue a digital driver's license in the EU's digital ID wallet. The EU would never use this centralized power to, say, restrict the movement in the name of the environment or a crisis, would they? Speculation aside, the EU's digital ID wallet is currently undergoing pilots in Luxembourg and Estonia. If all goes according to plan, every European will have their digital ID wallet in time for the next financial crisis. This is all despite the fact that nobody in the EU wants a digital ID, especially the Belgians, apparently. It just goes to show what it's really all about: government control. Anywho, across the pond in the United States, there have been equally concerning digital ID developments. In June 2023, the Transportation and Securities Administration, aka the TSA, announced that it would begin accepting digital IDs in the Google Wallet, foreshadowing.
And I told y'all about that when I went to the airport this summer. I don't know if it was all airports, but I know in Washington, D.C., they were looking for people to participate in these pilots. So I guess they went ahead and after the pilots, they were like, okay, well, we're going to do this now. The pilot is just, we're going to throw this out here. We got to do this. It's just a formality. So we can say we did it and these were the results. They're always going to say the results were good and that's why they rolled it out. But at the end of the day, they already had this stuff planned out. But here we are.
Digital IDs for travel. In September of 2023, the city of Atlanta took a page from the Dutch politician playbook by introducing a robot dog with facial recognition to one of the city's stadiums. The fact that another company with facial recognition robot dogs will deploy to casinos in California tells you everything you need to know. At the state level, meanwhile, California is reportedly conducting a digital ID pilot. For context, 14 states have some form of digital ID, including Louisiana, Missouri, and Mississippi. Some states, such as Georgia, are offering digital driver licenses as well.
Notice how many states are adopting these digital IDs that have huge numbers of poor people. And that is where, I've been warning you how this stuff is going to be rolled out because they're going to roll it. The majority of the people on earth don't have no money. They're poor and they either rely on, self-sufficiency or like here in America, they rely on safety nets, government supports like TANF and SNAP and Social Security, SSI, disability, Medicare, Medicaid. Those people are going to be required to have these things in order to access these benefits. And then you look at these states, California, huge state with a bunch of illegal immigrants, bunch of poor um, populations of people. I don't want to single anybody out. Same with Louisiana, historically poor state. Georgia, historically poor state. So you look at where they're implementing it. It doesn't matter if the state is red or blue. You got to look at the majority of the people in the state and their socioeconomic status, their educational attainment levels, the number of people who rely on government assistance, who attend public schools, who receive free and reduced lunch, who um, uh, um, get SNAP and TANF benefits, those types of things. That's how you're going to know where they're going to target these digital ID programs first. So everybody going to get some. It doesn't matter if it's a red state or a blue state, if you're a Democrat or Republican or whatever. Everybody on the same team. As you can see, this CBDC story and this digital ID story, The whole globe is participating. All the nations have given their power over to this beast system, and they are doing what the beast told them to do. That is what you need to focus on. All the nations have given their powers over to the beast. All of them.
Now, it's odd that California doesn't have any yet, despite it being a tech hub. Anyway, elsewhere at a federal level, the US government's login.gov website will reportedly support facial recognition as one of its login operations. And late last year, the Department of Homeland Security announced that it was working on a digital ID technology that it would issue to immigrants. Now, what's strange is that there haven't been that many digital ID developments south of the Rio Grande. In September 2023, Brazil and Argentina pressed ahead with their plans for blockchain-based digital IDs. Make no mistake, this is not the kind of blockchain that makes you free. It's quite the opposite, in fact. In nearby Colombia, meanwhile, the government released an updated version of its digital ID wallet, while the UNDP praised Guatemala's attempt to push digital IDs, despite, and I quote, cultural hurdles. You'll recall that the UNDP is the primary entity behind the digital ID push, particularly in developing countries. Over in Oceania, Australia has continued to roll out its digital ID, despite an estimated $2.4 billion in losses, $2 billion of which came from scams. Australian academics have simultaneously been petitioning the government not to ban Chinese cameras. Makes you think. On a completely unrelated note, retail chains in New Zealand are turning to facial recognition to fight crime. Meanwhile, special interest groups continue to push the New Zealand government to introduce a national digital ID. You can probably guess who's been funding these groups. But back to China. What's bizarre is that there haven't been that many digital ID updates out of the mainland. This might have something to do with the country's strict media controls. Whatever the case, we did find one update, and that's that China is starting to use special SIM cards as de facto digital IDs. Chinese friends of the Coin Bureau.
Okay, and y'all remember I brought you the story. I think it was Nigeria. I can't remember if it's Nigeria or Kenya, maybe both of those nations, were tying the digital IDs to the SIM cards, where those people rely on their phones to do business transactions. And so they were refusing to get digital IDs with their bank accounts. And so then they shifted, the governments shifted and said, you can't use your cell phone if you don't get a digital ID. So those folks that wanted to use a cell phone could no longer use like burner phones or SIM cards without identification. So they're going to find a way to force you to do this, which is why you're going to have to come up with other alternative methods to communicate. um we didn't always have cell phones. You had to drive over to somebody's house or walk to somebody's house, send a letter. There's a lot of ways to communicate, and folks don't really know much about that. There was a time before the interwebs that we communicated with each other, and we didn't have all these tools that you could be tracked with. So that's something else you probably should be keeping in mind. But I just find it interesting that no matter, people refuse to get it because they don't want a digital wallet, then they force you to tie it to the internet and your digital device. But no matter what, digitalization is going to happen. um, and you're gonna be signing the numbers, and you'll be having a mark of this beast system. But it's not actually what the true mark is. The true mark is about worship.
Have also informed us that it's becoming common to pay with your face in many cities such as Beijing. This further underscores the possibility that governments could simply impose digital ID via facial recognition if people refuse to download the digital apps. Regarding Asia in general, most of the digital ID updates appear to be coming out of Japan, which has experienced an Australian-style rollout. There have reportedly been lots of technical issues, and the public is apparently starting to lose trust in the technology as a result. And that's a big deal given Japan's high trust society. Not surprisingly, this social skepticism hasn't stopped the Japanese government from pushing ahead with replacing health insurance cards with digital IDs. ATMs at 7-Eleven stores in Japan have also reportedly enabled facial recognition for cardless transactions. What could possibly go wrong? Another Asian country that's had lots of digital ID developments is India, where facial recognition is being used for voting and digital IDs is being used for Universal Basic Income or UBI.
All right, you heard that. You got to have a digital ID to get that universal basic income. So it makes me wonder if the people who are participating in these pilots now, are they using digital IDs and digital wallets to get that extra money to use for the 2 years or however long the pilot goes? But also remember, those programs target low income people, people with disabilities, people with low income, and then people who have children in the households. So they're very targeted when they offer these incentives to certain segments of our global population. They know exactly what they're doing. Um, so they're not working with people who know better and who are not desperate. They're working with people who don't have a clue and who are in need of assistance and want to take this money thinking that, oh, I can do whatever I want to do with it. Yes, they'll let you do whatever you want to do with the universal basic income or the guaranteed income, but they're going to monitor everything that you do. And so it's like, this is how the pilot works. So this is why we don't really know what's going on, because they're not reporting out that they are targeting poor people all over the globe to do this. Because if they did, it, people would immediately be like, hey, that's targeting, it's very sinister. But that's what's happening. That's how these people work. Big old eugenics project.
For reference, many digital IDs and CBDCs reports have mentioned stimulus payments as a means of driving adoption. Lo and behold, the UNDP has reportedly been working closely with India to ensure that its digital ID related SDGs are met. Now, it is possible that the SDGs are the origin of the country's initiative to use facial recognition as a means of ensuring that someone isn't using a SIM card that doesn't belong to them. And while we're on the topic of unelected and unaccountable international organizations, the World Bank has reportedly been helping the Philippines to create a, and I quote, digital ID super app. This will include every single ID credential and more, ensuring total control. For what it's worth, Filipinos have reportedly found a way of tricking the government's digital ID system into accepting scans of their dogs' faces, making it possible for them to get a SIM card without a digital ID. For those
I love people. People gonna find a way to get around some shit. Do you hear what I say? Excuse my French, but we are going to find a way to not participate in this system. So y'all know how black folks do. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the ingenuity of mankind, because people not down with this. Nobody wants this. Nobody asked for this stuff, and they're just forcing it on us. So we don't really have a way to opt out. We don't, because it's uh, these uh, non-governmental entities formed by these rich people who are reaching into our elected officials' um, communities and their campaigns, donating to them and reaching out and touching them, not really telling them, what the ultimate goal is. A lot of these people just don't have a clue. And so they're in, helping to usher in this new global order. And the people are like, wait a minute, we didn't sign up for this. Hold my beer. I'm gonna find me a dog face and get my SIM card registered. So that's pretty funny. I'm just dying laughing because I think that is the funniest thing. But I mean, it just also goes to show you there are a lot of ways to push back, and you don't have to go along with this. This is against our free will, and this is not what the Creator had in mind for His people. And so you don't have to participate in this. You participate if you want to. You have the freedom and the liberty to go along with it if you want to, but you also have the freedom and liberty and good common sense and a healthy brain to not do so if you don't want to. So get that in your spirit. Good for the people in the Philippines.
Unfamiliar, connecting SIMs to digital ID is another method being used to force adoption. Around the corner in Africa, meanwhile, there have been so many digital ID developments that we could dedicate a whole video to them. As a matter of fact, we did a whole video about what's been going on with digital IDs and CBDCs in Nigeria not too long ago. It's worth a watch. We'll leave a link in the description. If you watch that video, you'll know that the Nigerian Central Bank is trying to create a requirement for people to connect their social media to their bank account as part of the KYC process. It seems the Central Bank of Ethiopia is trying to raise the bar. It made digital ID mandatory for banking last year. Ethiopia is also in the process of rolling out digital IDs for children, courtesy of the UN, and apparently even wants to phase out its physical passports and introduce digital ones instead. It's possible that this was one of the conditions attached to the $350 million of funding it received from the World Bank. If you thought that was excessive, though, take a second to consider that the government of Ghana started issuing digital IDs to newborns last summer. You should know that this is not unique to Ghana. We came across many instances of governments pushing digital IDs on vulnerable groups, be they infants or refugees. Of all of the African countries, however, Kenya has been by far the most active in its digital ID aspirations. It signed a digital ID deal with the UNDP, took money with strings attached from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundations, banned WorldCoin, and then announced its own iris-based digital ID plans. To ensure adoption, Kenya will require digital ID for taxes, which is a disaster waiting to happen. From what we were able to gather, Kenya's digital infrastructure has been plagued by cyber attacks, technical issues, and apparent fraud, though most of this has been related to Kenya's existing ID infrastructure. All of these developments give you a sense of what we have to look forward to in our home countries, namely those cyber attacks. Some of you will know that the WEF has been predicting those for years. You can learn more about the WEF's cyber attack practices, simulations, in the description. This brings us to the big question, and that's how you can protect yourself from this terrifying tech. For starters, you can call on your elected officials to ensure that they have the right to use physical IDs and is enshrined in law. This is what's being done in many countries to combat the ongoing CBDC rollout. In this case, you need to ensure that the right use of physical ID includes the right to keep all of the physical ID types segregated: health cards, driver licenses, and so on. You can bet that the government would try and find any way it can to find loopholes in any laws that are meant to protect your autonomy. Next, you should start to plan for the possibility that physical IDs will be phased out, and you'll be forced to keep a digital ID. By now, you'll know that governments seem intent on connecting your digital ID to everything that you do. Logically,
Their beast infrastructure, this is it. They're going to force us to be in this system. Now, we talked about last year, we don't know how far we will have to go into the system. We're not saying that this is the actual mark, because the mark is associated with the worship, but the number itself is a part of the beast system. So this is what um, we'll have to contemplate in the very near future. Um, I just don't see how a lot of us get around it, because you're already forced to use these things to do business in society now. So it's going to be very difficult for us unless we just go back to the Stone Ages. So I don't know. Um, I just don't know. But we still have to plan. So you have to think about how you're going to navigate this when it knocks on our door, because it's coming. It's 2024. I told you about Project 2025. It's here. You might as well say it's 2025. Everything is expedited. Everything is has been fast tracked because people are waking up and we're talking about it. There are some people who are supposed to be a part of the agenda who ain't, I guess, done changed their mind, or maybe they're playing both sides. I don't know. But we got all the information that we need to understand these folks ain't playing with us. So if you think that you got time and ain't nothing happening, 2025, that's next year. I know folks was thinking, oh, we got till 2030. No, you don't. You don't have till 2030. You don't have till 2028 either. You got till 2025. You really don't have till 2025. They getting ready to go upside our heads this year. So 2024, I anticipate a lot of stuff is going to happen. And my son works in banking, and he was telling me about this tokenization, and I was like, what is that? Because I haven't been keeping up with this stuff, except for I know it ain't right, it ain't good, and stay away from it. But he's been talking about tokenization, and he works for a major bank in this country. It's here. People's assets are already converted to tokens. That is the first step to rolling out the CBDC. And so digital IDs are coming as well, because they're going to want a way to verify and allegedly deal with fraud and money laundering. So it's coming. That's going to be the first thing they want you to not be a thief, and they want you to pay your taxes. Um, and then they want to control where you go, what you do, what you say, what sites you visit, and they want to control the truth. They want to dictate what that is and control it. So we're in trouble, y'all. We are in trouble. This system is here. It's not far away. It's here. It's now. It's being rolled out everywhere. It is here. Your new world order, your global government is here. You can't say it's coming, and it's here. It is here. This is proof that it's here. You see who's behind everything. It's here.
That means you have to start to be careful about what you do and say. Then, you should try and think if there are any ways you can legally circumvent the restrictions that will be imposed by the digital ID. For instance, it seems likely there'll be some process in place for people to delegate the use of their digital ID to a third party, say in the case of disability or death. If it's possible to give this kind of power of attorney with your digital ID, then it means it's possible to create an elaborate system of digital ID delegation, something that's analogous to a crypto mixer. This could be used to limit how much data the government is able to collect about your real-world activities. This ties into another avenue of avoidance, and that's to look into alternative digital ID technologies, specifically decentralized digital IDs. To be clear, any digital ID that refers to an ID issued by a government is not decentralized. Just like a centralized stablecoin, the issuer still has some degree of control. Instead, you need to look into truly decentralized digital IDs, means of proving you are who you claim to be, without the government's permission or verification. There are a lot of IDs like these in crypto, ranging from proof of humanity to the soul-bound NFTs proposed by Ethereum creator Vitalik Buterin. From our perspective, this last approach is the most effective. That's because as governments start to force their population to adopt digital IDs, many of them will instinctively start to look for alternatives. If crypto or a similar technology can provide this alternative, then individual freedom can be maintained. The same
Don't let you have no individual freedom. They're gonna kill them digital IDs just like they killing these stable coins and cryptocurrency so that you can have no other alternative except for their digital currency or whatever they want you to use. So again, I don't listen to the children of the corn when it comes to stuff like this because they're always so damn hopeful. Like they just don't understand what it is to like be oppressed. They don't understand they don't understand that concept. They keep thinking that they're gonna create some outside something. All these people work together. Ain't nobody created nothing decentralized. And even if they do, it is going to be killed. Literally or figuratively. It's gonna be killed. They're not gonna allow anything else to exist. These are nothing but pilot projects. These are nothing but uh, uh, just alternatives to figure out how many people will rebel and go seek another alternative. Well, we'll let this alternative stay here for a season, but then when we get ready to kill it, we're gonna kill it, and then those people won't have a choice but to use this thing that we have over here because this is what we really want. Is uh playing both sides. So no, you're not gonna have a choice. And if you think you're gonna have a choice, you a fool. The word already told us we ain't gonna have a choice. So the fact that these folks are in one breath saying this is the mark of the beast, but then saying, oh well, we're gonna have a choice. This word already told you ain't gonna have no choice. You either gonna do what they say or you're gonna be persecuted. You ain't gonna be able to participate in this system. There will not be any alternative. So if you are dumb enough to think that you're gonna have an alternative, shame on you. The only alternative is not to participate. You got two choices: participate or not participate. That's all you got.
The same is true for CBDCs and cryptocurrencies. Just like CBDCs, digital IDs are inevitable. All we can do is create alternative systems and hope they're ready for mass adoption by the time they become necessary. We also need to ensure these alternatives stay decentralized, or else they could end up being even worse. Okay, that's all for today's video. If you found it informative,
All right, so I'm going to put a link to this video in the description, but I wanted to share this with you because this is coming our way. As you can see, it is happening on every continent. There is not a continent that is not getting this. The children of the corn are leading the way, of course, because they the ones that are trying to rule over the whole earth as usual. But we already know the end of the story. Is already given to us at the beginning, and we just need to stand fast, continue to pray, continue to prep, seek our creator on how to navigate these things that are coming, how to grow our faith and stand strong, have strong convictions during this time, how to lead our people out of Egypt because we ain't gonna just have no one leader for a little while. It's just gonna be us. And so we need to, those of us who are awakened, understand what's happening and be prepared to stand. Just like some people had to stand during the Rona against the Baps, and folks were mad at them, and a lot of folks were coerced to have it against their will, or guilted into doing it. The same thing is going to occur again. People are going to make you feel bad because you're taking a stand. People are going to make you feel bad, like because you understand what's coming, and they're gonna call you conspiracy theorist. Although every single freaking thing we have talked about and predicted has come to pass, they'll still call you a conspiracy theorist until they are finally ensnared in every trap the enemy has set for them. So you are going to have to really be strong. You are going to have to spend a lot of time alone, strengthening yourself, being okay with being shunned, being okay with being an outsider, being okay with being an outcast, being okay with going without and not having help, watching other people have things that you used to be able to get because you have made a choice and you're standing on business, on y'all's business, on having strong convictions. um, that's what it is now. So get that in your spirit. I've been telling you, this is the season of discomfort. This is the season of primitive living. This is the season of choices. We're all going to have to make a choice, and we're all going to have to live with the decisions here on earth and in eternity. Some of us ain't going to make it, and we're going to have to be okay with a lot of our people not making it. And it's hurtful, but it is what it is. And there's nothing that we're going to be able to do about it. We're going to have to go through this period. Ain't no rapture coming to get nobody. Ain't gonna be no get out of jail free card. We all gonna go through some stuff. Some of us gonna experience more persecution than others. Some of us are gonna experience more exclusion than others. Some of us are going to um, lose our lives. It tells us that. We've seen it throughout the Bible. Some of us are going to be made fun of by family and friends and people in our community. You're going to have to wear that hat, just like we had to wear the hat during COVID. Still, some of us still wearing hats, still being called crazy. Folks dropping dead everywhere. All the research is telling us, is excess deaths and this is happening, that's happening. Folks still saying you're crazy. Folks still won't read. Folks still will not believe that these folks are deleting us. Will not. So if they don't believe that, they ain't gonna believe this either. So the only thing I can tell you is you're gonna have to look out for yourself. Every man or woman is gonna have to be for themselves, and then you may have to fight the people in your own household. You may have to fight your mama and your daddy. You may have to leave your mama and your daddy. You may have to warn your mama and daddy and then watch them perish or watch them go into the system and then come back and tell you that they regret doing it because now they understand, but it's too late. They already sold their souls. They already bowed down and worship to the beast. Whenever that time comes, I'm not saying that that time is now, but whenever that time comes, whenever the folks say this is what you got to do, you can't worship on this day, or you got to worship on this day, you got to stay home, or whatever. Whenever that time comes, people are going to have to make those decisions. Um, and trust me, those times are coming. Um, I just pray that we are found worthy to escape and that we are able to endure to the end. Those of us who are standing fast, standing on the word, and really trying our best to stay in the know, in spite of all the obstacles that are put in our way. I'm asking the Creator, the Most High, to bless you all, to cover you all, to cover me, cover your families, um, support you in your decisions, give you the proper decisions to help you navigate these times, and give you the strength and the courage to go through all the stuff that we have to go through because we're going to go through. And I feel like for us, we're going to be going through more so because we know and we understand what persecution is going to look like. We understand what being ostracized is going to look like. Um, we gonna be called crazy. Folks not gonna listen to us. Folks gonna try to make us seem like we don't know what we talking about. All that's coming. It's coming. We already been through it in 2020, 2021. It's coming again. 2024, 2025 is gonna be a remix. And then again, 2027, 2028, if we still here, gonna be the same thing. But I can promise you, a lot of our people not gonna be here, because this is just one thing you got to worry about. We got to worry about these other things that are coming out, these illnesses that are um they prepping for. We got to worry about those too. So there's so much coming our way, but I want y'all to be encouraged. Pray that no weapon formed against any of us will prosper. We got a job to do. And I feel like those of us who are chosen to see in this time, those of us who are awakened during this time, we are awakened and chosen for a reason. And I'm praying that nothing formed against us by the adversary will prosper. We're going to come out of this okay. Don't mean we ain't going to go through some stuff. It don't mean things ain't going to be scary. We are human. But I believe that many of us, if we stand on the word and understand what time it is, we will prevail. So, with that said, I'm going to end this video. Please like it, share it, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification, and make sure you hit all so that you will get all the notifications every time I post new content. I'm going to try my best to upload new stuff frequently, because there are a lot of things going on and I can't even keep up with all of it. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm praying for guidance so that I can get this content out to you, and hopefully you're able to share it with people in your circle, or at least have dialogue with those people on things that are of importance for our community, the Israelite community, and the Gentiles who cleave unto us. If you stumbled upon this channel by accident, welcome. Thank you. Hope you stayed to the end. I hope you learned something. Please go back and look at some of the old content. I have lots of videos about the Beast infrastructure being built in digital currency, digital IDs, the UN Sustainable Development Goals, all sorts of things, and just how those things will impact us here in America, but not just in America. It's going to happen to impact everybody all over the globe, because this is a global government. It's a global plan. Nothing is happening in isolation. It's just we're not being told about the right hand isn't telling what the left hand is doing, and so we're just having to find out ourselves. So let us continue to stay seeking knowledge and wisdom by following people like me and others who are screaming on the wall, blowing the trumpet, dancing, shouting, doing everything that they got to do to warn people, and people still are not paying attention. So, with that said, um, follow me on Rumble and Odyssey. Links are in the description. Also on Instagram and Facebook. Links are in the description for those sites as well. In the event that I am booted or silenced on this platform, if I'm able to, I will upload new content on Rumble. If you're not following me there and you like the content that I produce here, you won't be able to get that information, because I'm only on using YouTube right now. I don't use any other platforms because they're all co-opted by the alphabet agencies, to say that. And you really don't have any freedom. So, even though I use this platform, I don't have as much freedom as I would have if I used other platforms like Twitter. But I don't use Twitter because I don't trust it. I don't trust Musky Boy. I'm sorry, I'm skeptical. I don't trust nothing hardly. So I have a reason to not, and I have not been wrong thus far. I see people playing both sides, and I give them the side eye. That's the black woman in me. So my spirit is in tune with the universe, and I trust my spirit. I trust my gut. It may take a while for things to manifest and prove that my gut was right, my intuition of the Holy Spirit was right, but I trust it, and so I don't use it. And I don't have a issue if other people do use it. I just don't. I left it a couple of years ago, and I don't have any regrets. I don't have any plans on returning. But I know the majority of our people like these uh, Instagram and Facebook, which are owned by the same company. And so I sign up to those so that I can stay in touch with my people. But if they're going to suppress the content, it really doesn't matter which platform I use, because they're all controlled by the man. The men. All right. Lastly, if you'd like to support the channel, links are in the description financially, Venmo, and you can buy me coffee. This channel is not sponsored. I don't have any sponsors. I don't sell anything, and I am not monetized. This is a labor of love. I'm often persecuted. I make a lot of sacrifices, and I know nobody feels like, I didn't ask you to make the sacrifice. I realize that. But a lot of us are taking L's. We've come out of this system and we are taking L's. We're not participating in it, and we are sacrificing financially. So if we're pouring into you and you're benefiting, then the word says you should pour into us as well. Just keep that in mind. And I know times are hard and things are tight for everybody, but if you're getting content, good stuff from um, people on the internet, it doesn't matter the size of the following, because I follow some people who barely have 1,000 followers, and they are really good teachers. So I don't go by numbers or notoriety. I go by the content, and I suggest you do the same. Support those who support you. Support those who are putting their lives on the line to share truth in these final hours, and to sound the trumpet so that people can awaken before sudden destruction comes to the earth and Yah's wrath is upon us, because it's coming quickly. You can see it, you can feel it, it's everywhere, and there's nothing folks are going to be able to do about it. All right, y'all. This is Marley K. Keep prepping, keep praying, keep seeking the Most High. Obey those laws, statutes, and commandments. Get back into your Old Testament so you can find out what we are really supposed to be doing, because we all screwed up. Find the Torah, the Tanakh, the Apocrypha. Read those. That's going to be our ticket out of here. That is going to be how you stand in these last days. There's not going to be a whole lot of revolution happening once things get really bad. Folks are going to be just trying to survive. And so we're going to survive on the word, and we're going on our faith. That's what's going to keep us, in addition to whatever the Holy Spirit tells us to do to prepare in order to survive and sustain ourselves during this time of trouble that's coming upon us. So keep prepping, keep praying, keep seeking the Most High, repent for those sins daily, sins of commission and sins of omission. Repentance is the key to salvation, and turning away from those sins, living holy. So that's something that we all need to do and practice daily. And it's very hard in this evil world, but we got to do it. All right, this is Marley K. Love y'all. Please leave me your comments in the comment section. Give me your feedback. If you know anything, if you live in a state or a country that is using a digital ID, and you have some information that you'd like to share with the rest of us who have not been impacted yet, please do so. We greatly appreciate it, because we need to know. We need to talk to each other. This is no time to be quiet. We all need to be communicating and talking to each other, so we know what's coming, and we will not be ensnared by the devices of the enemy. All right, this is Marley K, and I'm out.